only had 150 homes. It was still fairly early, and a lot of people probably said, well, you know what, they know we don't have power, so they just waited it out. And I think that
So what do you mean, so they didn't count homes until someone called them?
No, I don't know. I don't think people made the phone calls to Reading Light.
There has to be a way for them to tell how many homes without.
No, there isn't.
There isn't.
They
It's
can't-
done
Only
by,
the main feeds, the high voltage
Yeah.
lines, they
They
cannot.
didn't even know Kings Row was down.
yeah,
Until someone calls.
I called.
okay.
They
Because
don't have telemetry equipment.
when the list came out and Kings Row wasn't on there, I called, and then it was on there.
Just so you know, there are a few streets, and I had gone, he sent out the information. I had noticed a few streets were not on the list.
Yeah.
I made a phone call myself, and within an hour, the power was back on. The truth is that with all of this information going from here to there, there's gonna be an oversight from time to time. Once the list came out, we were able to narrow in on what was actually the streets that didn't have power. The streets that weren't there, we were able to call and get that working to our advantage.
Okay.
The truth is that at the time, I honestly believe Reading Light only thought they had 150 homes affected here. And on Monday, it just went boom.
Yeah.
So the discrepancy over the 150 to the 400 to the 460 or whatever that number is, I think it's a delay factor on homeowners calling Reading Light.
Just surprised that that's the way it was.
Yeah, but I don't think they all happen at once. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So I think as the night progressed, it just got worse and worse.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the point.
You know.
As time went on, people started making more and more calls.
And also
and
more and more branches came
Or
in.
trees.
Right.
More trees
Well,
came
You know,
Now-
what I thought was going on probably is there's a collection of data and a report goes out. And then there's a period of time where more data comes in before they publish another report. So it's not, it's not an ongoing, every minute someone calls in, they update the report. Right? I mean, like, for example, Greg was sending out a report, I think, at 5 o'clock. And, so he had data at 5 o'clock. And I think you did send some out at noon.
Right, it was, like you said, it was coming from RMLD
Correct.
through the gentleman that sit here to me. And we had no reason to second guess it at that point.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were pointing.
No, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
It does sound like you have a really good handle from department to department, the communication piece, but I do think we have to have a conversation while they're here about communicating with the public, because I'm not sure we really have a grasp on it. But I do think we have to communicate with the public. We have to have a means for them to communicate. It can't just be calling the police department every once in a while, or you guys every once in a while, just to get any kind of update. We have the resources through our website to do news and announcements, which I don't think we use.
Which don't do much good to people that might not have.
I understand, no,
Power.
but when you can get it to people that have the information, and then the people are using the cell phone, people will communicate, but we have to get the information out there. I mean, we talked about this back in July 2010, when we had the issue with water.
I don't think anyone sitting out here is disagreeing with you.
No, but let me finish, okay? Because back in July 2010, we had a discussion in this room about doing a reverse 911, but we never really acted on it, right? We've been talking about communication for a long time, but we have all the smart people in the room today.
I think we had it for a little while on a grant.
We did.
I had a discussion with Greg on Wednesday of last week, and it appears that that's something important, and we should be doing something about it.
I agree.
And,
But I'd like to get
Not
your
only
ideas on what you
for
think
this
we
kind
should
of
do.
an incident, but for any kind of major incident that takes place. The school has reversed 9/11, but I think it's aimed only at the,
I don't think that,
School
there's actually
release.
several companies out there that do provide the service. Certainly think it's something we should look into, see which fits this community. Code Red is one on the police side that's very popular with law enforcement. It does have some features that I'm sure the community would like. Certainly something we have to research, find the top 3 best companies, do the pros and cons, and maybe make a presentation to see which one fits this community best. On our police end of it, we have a software that we're using for iPhones and Android phones that people would be able to sign up, similar to a Twitter. That service for us is $450 a year, which we're purchasing and putting on our website. But that limits it to people with BlackBerry queries on iPhone. So certainly these programs that are out there, it's all about inputs. You can input your email addresses, your texting, Twitter accounts, Facebook, whatever it is that you input. When you send the message out, wherever the destination is, gets the message. You can do it to work phone, to your elderly people can send something to their children so they would know what's going on in this community. So it's certainly something that we do have some information on. We've done a little bit of research on it, and funding is obviously an issue for it. So I don't know the exact costs on it. Some of them are pay-as-you-go. Some of them are a flat fee for unlimited, and those are all the, once we do the research, something that we can present and.
I agree that
interesting.
clearly there's a number of different means of getting the information out. I think one of the more important things in the process of getting it out, that it comes from one source. The information is consistent.
And the criteria has to be, and we've had discussions, the criteria, it's gotta be, because people won't pay attention if you send it out for nonsense information. It has to be something
That's
that's
what I was just thinking,
critical
at
to-
what point do we draw the line and say, okay, this is when we start communicating and.
City of Salem has a reverse 911. They send out what the lunch menu's gonna be in
Yeah.
high school.
people won't listen.
People just
so-
ignore it
No,
after a while.
Yeah.
No, I agree. We shouldn't take it to that level, but I think we have to at least make some decisions tonight, at least take action to look into something. Even,
Well, a lot of people today, a large number of people carry smartphones
Yep,
around.
that's
and,
right.
There's apps that pump out news information depending on what you want and what paper you might be reading. It pops up and buzzes and it has a little news flash on a regular basis. So, I think maybe between the website and look into some method of doing that, and even the reverse 9/11, and then set up some guidelines and rules as to when it gets used would be helpful. Because I think people sitting in this, sitting with their lights out, they'd like to know when, and not necessarily to the minute, but, after the end of a day, is it gonna be another day, or is it gonna be a week and a half?
And they can make plans to.
Right, they can
arrange it.
start to make some decisions as to what to do.
to get a hotel, because I had a couple calls saying, do you know if I should go get a hotel room tonight? A lot of people over in Kings Row in the Marblehead area had called. And that's when I had tried to reach out to, actually, I reached out to Greg. I think we talked a little bit, and then I just told him, yeah, it'd probably be best for him just to go get a hotel room. But there's gotta be a way to do it, that they can, because a lot of them said, I have my PDA, I'm getting information, even though they had no power. I had no power for 3 days, that's how I kept up with things. I just had to go to work and charge it, but,
And I think as leaders of the community, we do get calls. And when we don't have information on a timely basis,
Yeah.
That creates a problem too.
it does.
I agree, I think, when power's out, I think most people are concerned about how long is it gonna be out. And again, it's a best guess from running light as to what's gonna happen. And again, that could be updated as it normally would be, but if there's some way of, initially when you call them, they're gonna say, oh, probably not until tomorrow. You think the initial impression is, oh, they're just telling me that to give themselves enough time to get it done. In reality, it might be a day and a half,
More.
Or more, so it's,
Some of them didn't get done until, the last few until Thursday.
Yeah, but they said, at least the information that was getting pumped to us, I thought they met everything they said they were gonna
Yeah,
do.
No, they predicted it. I mean,
Yeah, they did.
No, and I think as time went on and they had a real handle on the task at
I
hand.
thought they actually
right?
were pretty good.
You can count outages, but then what's the task involved with getting it up? You gotta get out in the field and look.
So do we wanna take some action tonight?
yeah, again, I just think I think at some point we have to decide at what point does the information start getting disseminated. As Dick pointed out, you don't want it to be nonsensical and people not paying attention to it.
Well, we gotta
But
have
at the same
tool
time, you
for
don't necessarily want to alarm people unnecessarily
The
either.
chiefs have a good handle on
Right.
what should go out, what shouldn't go out.
Yeah. And then, we need the cooperation of Running Light to somehow or another get their work schedule out there as far as their estimated timelines and how we communicate that.
Yeah, that's on the back end of it. We gotta first determine what avenue we're going to use in order to get the information out.
Normally you wouldn't, like, this storm, I know it was gonna be heavy, wet snow, and they're worried about all the leaves that were on the tree, so we were expecting some, limbs to come down and trees to come down. But we didn't know to what degree, truly. And to me, it was like, okay, so we're having an early nor'easter, or an early storm, and sharpen your saw blades and get ready to go. And again, depending upon which way the storm went, would determine what we're gonna get. Again, I was out in Western Mass on Saturday afternoon at 2:30, a soccer game with 3 inches of snow at Amherst College, and 3 inches of snow with the start of the game with snow coming down, and, you know, it took me over 4 hours to get home, and the Mass Pike wasn't even plowed. You know, so it was.
He's one of the crazy guys.
Yeah, well, why they had the game, I don't know. But, and I was down all week in DC with a colleague of mine who was from Wilbraham, and he was heading home Friday evening, and still hadn't had power and wasn't anticipated for another 48 hours, so they were out a full week. And, so it depends where you get hit, how you get hit. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with getting a game plan ready, but, you know, how we communicate is more important than just being able to do
I
it.
think these systems that we're talking about will not only fit the needs in a critical incident, but we have breaking entrance in a certain area, you know, that's another time we can send the message out. Instead of reading it in the paper a week later, at least people could be more aware if we have a water break in a particular area, so that way, you know, water's gonna be out for the next 4 hours. Those are the types of messages these systems is important to get out. And, you know, that criteria, that has to come from, you know, everybody here, but the system and the options that it has, I mean, there's some good competition out there. So I think we could find something to fit the needs of the community, and then it's just up to how we want to proceed from there.
The other, just another observation I had was that Patch, North Reading Patch, his website, was continually updating information.
Well, I
Were
was
they
sending her
connected? What?
I was given actually the same information that I was sent to the department heads.
So they were, okay, so that
I
was,
had
they were getting it
contact
from
with
us.
Perfect.
What do you guys think? Are you happy with the way everything worked, or would you recommend doing some things differently, or?
Do we need any additional resources, you know, other than more guys, more equipment? But I mean,
Wow.
no, truly.
You didn't ask that, did you?
Wow, just money, that's all.
Did you see his face light up?
I'll take 10. I personally worked, so I've worked at this before, but it wasn't an eye-opener for us. We've done this before. We were prepared for it, and we just made those calls that we're supposed to make every time something, in a storm-related incident, worked well with the fire and the DPW, and, you know, nobody got frustrated, everybody just kept doing their thing, but the trees kept falling, so we had to continue to just proceed and do what we had to do. I didn't see any issues, and we all worked long hours, but other than that, I thought things went well, but certainly being a resident, it's frustrating when you have your lights out for 4 days. And, but, you know, we as public safety, you know, try to make sure that the risk were minimized, so I don't know what these guys feel, but, I mean, I think we worked well together, everybody was professional.
I think the only issue that I think that might make it a little better is, and we've talked about this in the past, is that we have one person that all the groups report to, and that one person disseminates the information. The issue I have, and it's not an issue, but it's an example, I hear Murph on the radio who sends a cruiser to a place that one of my guys, or I was just at, and he's calling Reading Light. And then, you know, I call him, hey, we were just there. Stuff like that. So if we have one person that's monitoring all 3 departments and can keep a log, whether it be computer or paper, whatever the case may be, I don't think it's gonna make the operation run any smoother, but I think the information's gonna be centrally located, and it's gonna be easier to get out to the people that need it. The truth is we all work well together, we know what to do, this isn't new to us, and we handle what happens when the phone rings.
So who do you think that person should be?
I don't think it needs to be anybody decided upon at any moment. You can take one person, stick them in the Chief Purnell room, and they can use a computer to keep track of that information.
So wouldn't that have been the benefit of opening up EOS right
Well,
there?
then we can just do it through, you
Right.
said, is there anybody? You could,
Right.
my point is you could have
shouldn't it-
anybody do that.
Right, but shouldn't there be a
We
plan?
could do that with Theo in
Right.
his office.
That's all I'm saying, shouldn't there
Yeah.
be a plan in case of a situation like
Yes.
that? You have a designated
Yes.
person and a
Right.
two,
And
person number 2.
truthfully, during the hurricane,